Hello, man. Hello, Mgtows. I have to wait for my sound check. I installed a new graphics card earlier, and I wanted to
Hello, man.
make sure
Hello,
everything was
Mgtows.
okay.
I have to wait for my sound check. I installed a new graphics card earlier.
That sounds good. That sounds really good, actually. I don't know if that makes a difference in anything. It's hard to say whether a new graphics card makes a difference in anything nowadays. I thought I was upgrading on a new graphics card, but I don't know right now. I might have to overclock it because I wasn't getting the frames that I was getting from my old graphics card, and maybe just a little tweaking will take, and I should be getting a lot more. But that sometimes is surprising. I had this old, wasn't real old. It was about 4 years old. It was a Fire Pro, and a Fire Pro card was very expensive back in the day, and that's what I was using, and it was a 2 gigabyte 2 gigabyte Fire Pro card, and I was happy with it. It did everything. It was a 3D, so it did everything that I wanted it to do. And I decided, well, I'll get one of these other cards that are mid-price now, and they have 8 gigabytes. And they're supposed to be, they can run on a DRAM or an SDRAM, or you can make your decision whatever you think is better, the DRAM, the SDRAM, or anything like that. And you get to make your decision, and sometimes the decision doesn't come out exactly great. But I can't crossfire them either, and which is a real problem. So I might have to buy another duplicate card so I can crossfire it and really get up and where I want to be. Hello, Ken. Scalioya. How are you guys doing today? I hope everybody's having a great day. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, I was just contemplating a topic that seems to resurface in my life once in a while, and the topic is the commons in life, and commons, and what kind of commons we have, and what kind of commons we look forward to, and when I talk about commons, is commons and experience, commons and things that happen always. We MGTOWs always seem to have a common. What is that common that brings us all to MGTOWs? And I think them are important points to look at in life. When all commons and experiences point towards something, this is my philosophy about this. Regardless of the appearance of that something, it is that something, and all the commons agree with it. And I've seen this in life back in my private investigator days, back in the early and late 90s, mid 90s, when I decided that I was going to take that course and do that. And I didn't follow up on that in life. But back in them days, one of my first jobs, which I was kind of proud at doing, was a unnamed coffee shop, or a coffee shop owner that owned several coffee shops kept having theft inside of his coffee shop. And over a period of 4 to 6 years, he fired four people that worked in that, and he never could nail it down to what was happening. And when I came in, and I just kind of looked at, and when I talked to people, and one of the things I used to figure it out was what was the common in all these things. The owner had called me. He had a trusted manager, and then he had employees. There's 3 tiers there, and the trust was placed in the manager. And I says to the guy, the only common in all 6 of these events, which I was looking at, was the manager. So that pretty much puts the manager squarely in the fault. He said, no, it couldn't possibly be the manager, because I trust him and I love him. And he says, he's my friend and he's been around. And I says, well, them things are all great and fine and dandy, but in life, sometimes we take into account things that really don't mean anything when you're looking at logic. And one of the logic points is the commons all pointed towards that. And we do this in MGTOW too. We forget to look at all the commons. What are the commons, and what we all have to go through in MGTOW? What are the commons which brings us into here? What are the commons and the shared experience that all of us men seem to have, and that becomes an interesting question. But sometimes we lose focus on that, and we start drawing up ghosts, and we start fencing with what I call windmills, and because we need to, we can't put our finger on that person or that thing. Well, it turns out that the guy never paid me for that, and he said it couldn't possibly have been the guy that I said it was. And then about 6 months later, they set up security footage, and then they seen him walking out of the local restaurant with you know, boxes of stuff. So they fired him, and even though I was right, the guy refused to pay me because I'd violated one thing that I shouldn't have violated. I went after the person that he was endeared to, that was his friend, and he was so mad about that, he never came up with that check. And I went and I asked for that check and explained what would happen if he didn't pay it. And that's a different story, but that's the things in life that happen, and there's a lot of lessons involved with that lesson that I had to go through in life. One was a learning experience on my part, is always get the money up front and never trust anybody. And he was trusting somebody else and never trust anybody. That's what I say, or trust but verify. And that seems to be a code around MGTOW. You trust, but you verify everything, because you need to in life. If someone's offering you a loan that sounds too good to be true, you trust, but you go look at the numbers and see where that loan's going to be. And that seems to be a thing in my life. And I'm going through this thing now, which I'm trying to put things together in my life between a person that I'm close to, another, and then a person that's a friend. And I know the commons and the latter one, the person that's a friend. I can see them. I can see all those things happening to him, and I know what the common is, that, and all these things that are happening, and the questions that he's asking me, and the time that he's doing. I know it's a woman, it's a female in his life, and he doesn't want to say so, but yeah, it is. And and he doesn't want to say it because he knows I'm a Mgtow, and he was a Mgtow too at one point, and as a common acquaintance, many of us might have a Mgtow from a different side of town. And I'm just kind of giggling and going, don't sweat it, dude. I know what it is. I've been around here long enough to know. But it's sad, because it's probably one of the only MGTOWs I've met in life, and hang around with, and go get beers with, and just get lunch with, and shit like that. And but that's okay, because I'll just let things play out. And another thing is a person in my family that I'm very close with, and he always seems to be getting in trouble, and that trouble, I have to ask myself the same question is what I would ask anything in life. What are the commons in these things? Oh boy, I did this new angle on my camera, and I don't know if I'm really happy with this, but I got to move things around a little bit. Like I said, when all the commons and experience point towards something, regardless of the appearance of that something, it is that something. It's all the commons agree, and if you agree, what I equate this to: thieves hide things. Thieves hide things about themselves. Liars cast aspersions, and cheaters they give the appearance of virtue on these things. And there's all these commons over time merge into this single entity, and it points towards this single entity. It's the entity that the commons are pointing towards. If you have an employee this constantly happens around, it's that employee. A good investigator always looks at all those commons inside of these things. Life is complex most of the time. We get wrapped up, and life is we get wrapped up in balls of confusion most of the time, and we end up looking for ghosts when ghosts don't appear, and we make up the only ghost, the closest in reality. Most of the time, it's Occam's razor, this, or the closest thing to you. Your keys are probably in your pocket. Your glasses are probably on your face. Or if you're looking for those things, it's look closer. Don't be searching all over the same house. They're probably right where you left them. That's a truity in life. But in life with people, things get complex and we get wrapped up and confused, and we look for trust in alliances, and we look for this complicates any good decision that you're going to make by not having an alliance. It gives that alternate gate that the executive command, which I talk about, is another gate in life where you're making decisions based on other people's lives. And in Mgtow, we all got to be these little Mgtow private investigators. And it's important to get those kind of skills down. I talk about this a lot. I think I did a video about getting your logic skills together and becoming that private investigator, looking for the commons. And if this is happening and this is happening and this is happening over and over again, what was the common that bound all three of those together? And you can pretty much place that person as the cause of it. And that's in Mgtow too. We become so much here in Mgtow. We become private investigators. We become hostage negotiators for our children. We become emissaries to the world of the outside Mgtow. We become victims a lot of times too, and that's what I like to talk about. How to not become a victim. There's sleight of hand and manipulation that's dealt out with our foes, and them are some of the things that we should talk about in here, and we should talk about men's ability to spot what is the problem here in Mgtow. Let me stop at this point and see who's all in. Hello, Pretentious Hermit. Hello, Mgtow Warrior. Hello, Rock and Roll Steve. R2D2. Sorry about that. And hello, everybody that's watching. What are some of the comments? And that's what I was going over this question in my head, and I was thinking I should ask the group, because the group would know best. And I know you guys know the answer. What is the one single common that all Mgtows seem to have in their life? Mgtow Warrior, you're probably pretentious. If you guys got what is that one thing that you can look around all Mgtows and say, we all have this same problem? And someone's going to be brave enough to say it in there sooner or later, and that'll become the point of this video. Sometimes we search for things. We search for arbitrary things. It must have been this. It must have been this. It must have been this. What was the thing? I did that for years. The one thing, that one something, Steve, that one something that we all have in common. Searching for the truth is one thing. I think we all search for the truth, but on a lighter sort of, we're all philosophers at heart, and that's a common between us that makes us Mgtow. But what is that common thing that brings us to Mgtow? Yeah. So by the end of you think about that. And what's the one word we can't say out here? What's the one thing we are not allowed to accuse? We often overlook potential problems in something. This is pretentious hermit speaking. We often overlook potential problems in something. If someone provides some kind of benefit, a girl gives you sex, but at what cost? Right. We're starting to get closer to this. We're working closer to this, but for some reason, we're not allowed to say these things. There, we get we get our videos taken down. We get yelled at. We're not allowed to say what is that common. And there was this. We all do this in video games too. You sometimes you pick a non-player person to go into the field of battle with. You get this guy or this guy or this guy, and there's three of them, and you find you have one. You go in, and then you have your squad, and you lose all 5 of your squad, and then comes back, the non-player comes back and says, sorry, we lost our whole squad. And then you pick this one, and there's 2 you go into battle with. And then you come back and say, we did pretty good there. And then there's this one you always win with. It's easy to do the logic in that if you go into battle with the red one or the blue one, if you go into battle with the blue bot, you're going to lose all your personnel. And that just becomes a matter of doing it 2 or 3 times. First time is, oh, maybe it was luck. I didn't see that it was coming from there. It was coming from there. It was coming from there. I didn't see what the blue bot was doing. And then the second time you go, well, that was a little strange. I'm going to pick the red one. And we never go to the purple one, because you only come out with 2 men on the purple bot. Or I go with the red bot, and I always win. And so I'm not going to pick the blue one, because I know all my men are going to die. But that takes a couple of times, and that's life. But in life, unlike a game, I can't afford to lose those 2 or 3 times. I can't afford to do that. If I lose once, it's the difference between me having a house, me having food on my table. It's the difference between me everything ending. And life is much more serious. But we get a little logic gate there. And I have to look forward into these things. And I have to start looking at what commons often happen in my life. In my life that make it different. And it's much more personal. And it's much harsher. And it's much... it takes on more meaning in real life, much more meaning than these. But we got books to instruct us. Most of the time we were given from the time you were a little child, you were given the Bible, and you were given instruction, ethical instruction by schools, whatever, if you went to a secular school, or you went to a Catholic school, or you went to a Protestant school, if you went to a Jewish school, whatever school you were given this secular instruction on how to win in these things. And that sometimes was pretty good. But along with that came the religiousness of the society, where they instructed you to date the girls, get married, go down that path, and try this out. But most often we find that the common that a lot of us have is divorce and separation and theft and pain and all them things. But there's always one common within that. Underneath all the garbage that happens, there's always one common, and that's the Ewalt or Nawalt argument of there's always a female involved. Every time we start, and I won't look at a female like I look at it like it's another extra human in my life. I've always taken on extra humans in my life, and that's what Barbarossa used to call them, extra humans. Because they're extra human in 2 different ways. You have this extra human around your life, and they're extra human. They get more humanality than the rest of us. So I know that relates to the non-player personnel thing. They're non-humans. They're extra humans. You have to take care of them. You have to feed them. They're going to influence the decisions that you make in your life, and the decisions that you make are generally influenced by these executive commands that come in, and they're not part of the and or the not of it. And these are the things we have to walk, but them are the same things that all of us Mgtow have in common. And I'd like to sit down and just kind of briefly go over maybe my last 1,200 videos where I had people in and listen to what was the common mistake that we all made. What was that one thing that we have to focus on here in Mgtow? And in my life, I have to start doing this more, because it seems to be visiting me more in life. And these are the things that I generally work out at a moment's notice. Maybe I'm getting slower. Maybe I'm getting older. Maybe I'm getting prettier. I don't know what it is. I don't know what that is, but these are things I have to work out really quick in my life sometimes. And it was a question for Mgtow too. What is that one common? What is that thing that we should all be focused on? And basically the one common is that we all Mgtow. We're all red pill. We're all searching for the truth. And those are three comments about us. We're all men. We're all Mgtow. We're all searching for the truth. We're all in this together. Them sort of things we can start putting together and come to some conclusions about what's going on in the world today. But that's just a small pocket of the world too. It's not really, Mgtow's not the large pocket of I'm screwing with this thing here. I got my microphone, but I really don't know where to place it anymore because I'm looking at the sound monitor while I'm doing this. I don't know where to place this thing. I know you can't see it on here, but it's right in front of my face. And I can't see the board, and I can't see the screen, and I can't see nothing. But it's just, I moved the camera around. I wanted a different angle on all this prettiness for you. And I put the lights up, which I'm not really happy with the lighting back there anymore because it doesn't show the lighting through the screen. So I'm going to change that a little bit too. But, these are things I have to work through and do myself and see what you guys like the best. I don't know. But I was trying to work through some problems. I have two problems. I have two problems with two people in my life, and I don't know what to think anymore, and I don't know how to work through those problems. So I go back on the old tried and true reliable methods of how to work through the problem, and one of them I'm pretty sure I know. And the other one I'm because it's a bigger life problem, and it's one of those life problems for a friend of mine that changes his life, that ends him up in jail, that there's a comment in there, and I have to settle it for him, and I have to do it for him because he has the inability to do that for himself. And I know what that's like in life. I do know what that's like when you can't separate yourself from these things because they're too harsh. If you do, and that's a red pill life. Sometimes these red pills, they say the red pills are hard to swallow, but in life, when you have to make major changes, in your life. I mean, housing and who you live with and where you live and those sort of things. Them are big decisions, and they're painful decisions. What city you live in. I mean, I've been through 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be my fifth city in the last 5, 6 years, maybe 7 years, 7 years maybe. And finally, I think I've settled down here, but I'm not really sure anymore because my life is so turbulent, and I don't like to be in one place. I'm one of those guys where my roots start growing somewhere, and I feel uncomfortable with that. I really do, and it's like I look at it like, man, I think so bad that I'm growing roots here, or is things that comfortable where I'm just going to sink in and spend the rest of my life being, not going for the more exciting things. Have I settled for less? I don't know. I don't know what those things are. These are decisions that you make in your life too, and they resemble your Mgtow decisions, but there are two sort of things that we do. We do our Mgtow, we incorporate our Mgtow into our life, and then we try to make our decisions based on the ideologies of that surround Mgtow, and that keeps us safe, at least from some things. But it can't keep you safe from everything. Major change, cataclysmic change, your government, things like that, paying taxes, business ventures, winning or losing in those things. Sometimes I mean, you're in the whirlwind just like the rest of us are in the whirlwind out there, and you don't know, and I don't know, and I can't tell you. I can't prognosticate people's lives. I wish I could. I would be a billionaire. People would pay me for that if I could prognosticate your next mistake. I think that would be great if I could I could look at the events in your life and go, you know what your next mistake is going to be? You're going to make that same old mistake, that same mistake you always make. And that's my sort of prognostication. People make the same mistakes they always make. I make the same mistakes I always made ever since I was a little kid. My brother knows that one well. A matter of fact, he taught it to me at harsh cost to my behind when I was a kid. Uh, I used to run into the room and into the bedroom, and I'd be playing, building some blocks and stuff or doing something. Uh, and he used to run into the room and he'd grab a Hot Wheel track or something. He'd smash me across the face with it. And then he would drop the Hot Wheel track and run out. And like a fool, every single time, I'd pick up the Hot Wheel track and run down the hallway like a raving maniac with a Hot Wheel lash mark across my face. And then he'd run up to my mom and go, Joey's hitting me with that Hot Wheel track. And then he would smile and go, gotcha, dick. And that happens a lot in life. There's a lot of those gotcha moments where you're going to be the second one to retaliate, or you think you're doing the right thing and you're really doing the wrong thing. And then that guy's got it all figured out. He knows exactly what you're going to do in that situation, trying to swerve. One of the things I used to say a lot in my life is tack and tack off. And that comes from that's a sailing term. When you're trying to catch your quarry, you tack and you tack often, and then you build speed as you tack. If you're on your bike and you're tacking like this, you're building speed while you're tacking. And that's the same thing in sailing. If you tack and you tack often, you're going to catch your quarry. But I do believe that in Mgtow is what we have to do here in Mgtow too. We remember to avoid cannonballs, you tack and you tack often, and you will catch your quarry and you'll be able to destroy them. And that's what I always thought with this feminism thing. As soon as we do that, we play that game, and don't be where they shoot. That's an important lesson in life and naval rules. Don't be where they shoot. And but it's an important lesson in life too. That's one of the things that I go by. It's another motto or this thing that I use in life. Don't tack and tack often, and don't be where they shoot. And along with it's always the common. That's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for the common in these things. I ain't looking for no ghost. I ain't looking for and that's why back in the day when I did that case, he was looking for a ghost, and he wanted me to find a ghost. And people convince themselves that they're going to find it in the ghost. They're going to find and then everything in life is going to return to normal. And most of the time when the devil, when you're the guy that's got the devil on your back and you got to carry him through that swamp of life, that's a Mark Twain reference, by the way. When you're carrying the devil on your back and he's coming to visit you, it ain't the most common thing in the whole world. You could be looking at trees, you could be looking at water, you could be looking at the swamp around you, and it's none of those things. It's that you got the devil on your back, and you will carry him through that desert. And so many of us have had that happen to us in our lives, where the devil gets securely on your back, and you can point to anything you want in the world, and you can point out all those ghosts. And I think I can't remember the guy's name in Mark Twain. He says, yeah, he was seeing ghosts. He thought he was seeing ghosts, but it was just one thing. He had to carry the devil across the swamp. And there's good learning lessons. Mark Twain gives us a lot of good learning lessons in his book. Mark Twain was one of those people where interesting things just came to visit him in life, and interesting things, places. Mark Twain once said that if there was someone that was interesting, he'll find me. I'll meet him. And some people are like that in life. If there's something that's going to come, he'll find it. And that's with danger too. If you go looking for it, it'll find you. These things will find you, and that's what we talk about with reducing your risk in MGTOW. When you reduce your risk, those things, if you're going out there and PUAing it up, I'm telling you, all those things will come and visit you, and then you'll have to deal with them in life. And yeah, the devil will find you, and you'll end up carrying them across that swamp, buddy. And the devil comes in many ways too. But sometimes we have to stop and think and ponder and do these evaluations in our life. And most of the time, they'll have to do with people around you and places and decisions you have to make. And you have to put those things in correct perspective as a MGTOW. And they get all so confusing. And like I said, most of the time, friends aren't who they seem to be. Women aren't what they seem to be. And the only time in my life when that comment happened to me, where I let my guard down when I thought everything was going to be okay, there was one comment in that I took on an extra human in my life, and I thought that was a good idea. And I can see this with all the men around me in real life. I can see this with a lot of guys in MGTOW too. And I know exactly what's going to happen. That's when I can become the prognosticator of their future. And people should pay me for that. I swear I could be a billionaire if I took in all the events in somebody's life. I could tell them what their next mistake is going to be, because people make the same mistakes over and over again. And I do the same thing myself. And then I was like, doggone it, I did it again. I made that same mistake. And if you telegraph that to the world too, they know exactly where to come at you. They'll know exactly what buttons to start pushing on your ass. So I usually don't tell that to the people. Harry, Harry, that's an original name. Harry, that is an original name. Wow. I can't say it because YouTube might take me down, but I love these names. Some guys, they're very original and very creative, and wow. But that's all I wanted to talk. Did you guys figure the common yet? Did you guys figure what was the commonality of all these things? Yeah, the commonality is there ain't no waltz. They're all a waltz. Every single one of us got one of those. Every single one of us has ran into one of those problems. And that problem comes fully armed with a 6-shooter of silver bullets and the state by their side. And that's always a commonality too. Some people say it's the state. Some people say it's the extra others. The extra others that you're around. The MRA wants to fight with dragons. They want to blame it on feminism. They want to blame it on the state. The state's laws are what the state's laws, and like laws are, if you get used to the laws of your community, you can navigate anywhere you want as long as you don't break a law. And what they're saying with those laws, you get married and you get a divorce, and we're going to have your ass for the rest of your life, and we're going to have a slave. Them are easy. Most kids know right away, hey, I'm not going to, well, most young MGTOWs know right away, I'm not going to do that thing, because if there's one thing for true and two for certain, if I never get married, I'll never get a divorce. Now we have the problem of whether I'm going to have kids in life, and that's a personal choice that I empathize with men about. That's a grueling personal choice, whether you're going to have kids. My suggestion is 200 miles, and I might stretch that to 400 miles someday. 200 because of technology. 400 miles and a fake ID will take care of that problem. But you got to use a little creativity and a little MGTOW a MGTOW knowledge to enact those sort of things, and you have to have a willingness to do that thing. Matter of fact, or so you're going to sit at home You could sit at home complaining and bitching and being a keyboard warrior about that, but unless you ever do the 400 miles and a fake ID, you'll never know what it's like. So, so that's my cure to all that. Having a child and stuff. Go sow your oats out in the real world. Go to a different country. Go to a different state. Go somewhere. Go to Canada. I don't care. Uh, get all that out of you and come back safe and develop a manner of living that's worthy of being a Mgtow. Uh, but during this period of being a Mgtow, we're going to be stuck with a lot of complex problems. Them same complex problems in life will try to come visit you over and over and over again, and it's going to look like it's the devil, and it's going to look like it's a feminist, and it's going to come in the shape of a hazy apparition sometimes where you're not going to be able to grab it and you're not going to be able to put your thumb on what happened. But most of the time you can look at who you are, do that self-centering, that self-introspection of a Mgtow and say, what is that one mistake that I always make? What is that common that I always put in my life? Why does this turn out the same way every single time? And you can just say, okay, I know why. And acceptance is key to that stuff. And I don't need to explain Mgtow, and I don't need to explain to men about their character defects and their moral disillusionment. But them are the things we need to look at sometimes. And I'll just smile and say, yeah, I can't prognosticate your future, but it's much more interesting if I just sit back on the MGTOW bench, grab some popcorn and a Pepsi, and just point and laugh sometimes, because nobody's going to do what you tell them to do. Everybody's going to find out, and they're going to go, yeah, he was right, but they're going to go, you were right, but you're still a dick. And nobody likes to admit when somebody else is right. And if you're looking for that gratification in doing Mgtow, you're not going to find it most of the time. Most of the time, you're just going to piss people off with red pill truths, and they're going to hate you for the rest of your life because you broke some kind of delusion in their life. And once you break that delusion, you're responsible for that delusion for the rest of your life. And that's the way I feel about it. And I'm going to end this with, I hope you're all having a great day, and the same old spiel. Thanks for being a Mgtow and all that. And how do you like the new view? And can you notice a difference with the graphics card that I'm running now? I don't know. I think it's a little clearer. I think it's a little better. But you guys let me know if I made a mistake in buying that graphics card. I think it does show up in the video. So with that, I'm going to hang this thing up and just checked in to say hello to everybody. And that's what I do. I just check in, say hello, and glad to have you around. And I'm thankful that you're all Mgtows, and I'm thankful that we're getting this message out. And I'll blah, blah, blah about, about some things. But most of all, thanks for being Mgtow. Mgtows.